We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
As the balance of power shifts somewhat in American politics, it's time to start questioning how that power, borrowed from citizens and utilized by the elected, will be wielded. Welcome to Liberty Nation Radio here on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's episode, we discuss the GOP blitz against Joe Biden, silver linings for Republicans, FTX and the cost of Thanksgiving. Remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. With the GOP now in control of the House, certain representatives have come out of the gate with a shocking presser, in which GOP big dogs Jim Jordan and James Comer set out a roadmap for investigating both Hunter Biden and, more importantly, President Joe Biden. So to discuss the latest, we're joined by Liberty Nation's editor-in-chief, Ms. Lisa K. Donner. Thanks for being here, Lisa.
Good to be here, Mark.
So I have to say, I was blown away by the audacity of the press conference, the details, the accusations, and perhaps more so how these two representatives, they seemed ready to pounce just one day after the GOP secured the magic 218 seats. And in a moment, we're going to listen to a couple of parts of that presser. But what were your initial impressions?
Wow, talk about scorched earth. It was as if the Republicans were just waiting till that 218 magic number came, and they came out with guns ablaze. This is nothing short of major news, and they were clear. They're not just going after Hunter Biden; they're going after the President of the United States.
Yeah, that was very much apparent, and they were very open about that as well, saying this is, I believe there was a part where James Comer said, we don't need to discuss whether Hunter Biden is a lowlife. He is what he said, but this is about Joe Biden. Now, we're going to play a quick clip here for you, Lisa, and I'd like you to come back in on that with your reaction.
Rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse will be the primary goal of a Republican House Oversight Committee. As such, this investigation will be a top priority. We are releasing a report today that details what we have uncovered. We are also sending letters to the Biden administration officials and Biden family associates renewing our request for voluntary production of documents relevant to this investigation. This is an investigation of Joe Biden, the President of the United States, and why he lied to the American people about his knowledge and participation in his family's international business schemes. National security interests require the committee conduct investigation, and we will pursue all avenues that have long been ignored. Committee Republicans have uncovered evidence of federal crimes committed by and to the benefit of members of the president's family. These include conspiracy or defrauding the United States, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, violations of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, tax evasion, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit money laundering.
May I say, wow. I mean, talk about throwing the book at someone. The Republicans clearly were ready for this. They had visual aids behind them. They had lots of information. You know, the key words that Democrats have been using for a while now, at least when Donald Trump was president and after, was Republicans claim without evidence, or people claim without evidence, using those words, claim without evidence. Well, they came to the table with plenty of evidence there. Whether it'll stick or not, of course, we don't know. But there's a lot of allegations, and they had a roadmap. They really did have a roadmap for investigating the Biden family schemes.
Yeah, I think what was most impressive, if I may use that term, was that they highlighted, here is the information that we have, and also pointed out, here's why you haven't heard from it before. Here's where the information was sent to. Here's who debunked it and why no follow-up was done on it.
Well, I do want to put just one thought in, and that is Miranda Devine over at the New York Post must be just opening bottle after bottle of champagne today. She has been pounding this drum now for I don't know. Has it been 2 years, Mark? I mean, it seems like a long time.
It absolutely has been 2 years because the Hunter Biden laptop story came out not long before the 2020 election.
Right,
And
right. And
it's
then
probably
that was
worth.
suppressed.
It was.
And then everyone said it was fake, including 51 national security people, which they label today the essence of Russian disinformation campaigns. But it's really been interesting to watch how this has turned. Then the establishment media came out, I'd say in about the last year, and started saying, well, it does look like Hunter Laptops really is Hunter's laptop.
Yeah, well, there was a progression, wasn't there? First of all, it wasn't Hunter's laptop. Then it was Hunter's laptop, but it was Russian disinformation. Then it was Hunter's laptop and it was Russian disinformation with added things in there to make the Biden family look bad. And then it's basically just Hunter Biden's laptop. And it is what it is.
Let me tell you, if they're trying to say that, all of this is just hokum and made up, that's pretty extensive. As there's just no way that can be.
Now, one thing I noticed, Lisa, and I did mention this to you at the time the press was going on, and shortly after, while Fox News covered the presser, of course, many other major, let's call them left-leaning outlets, did not cover the presser, and neither did they have stories up straight away or within a particularly reasonable time to explain what had happened. Now, to me, this just seems a massive continuation of the same suppression that took place with Hunter Biden's laptop, isn't it?
This kind of gatekeeping has got to stop. But I'll tell you also, this is why places like Liberty Nation exist. Because you have to have places that are going to give you what's really going on and aren't constantly gatekeeping. I mean, talk about errors of omission. This is a major, major investigation of the current president of the United States. Now, certainly when they were investigating, and the Democrats were investigating Donald Trump, it was all over every station. Why isn't it now?
Well, perhaps it will be labeled as it was a fake press conference filled with, put together by the Kremlin to discredit Joe Biden off the wave of his midterm success. Yeah, it seems to me that they are doing this gatekeeping exactly as you say. And what's happening is the reason for the delay was to come together with a narrative that could be firmly pushed across all of the more Democrat-friendly networks, because obviously you can't have people going off half-cocked, as we say in the UK, and actually just printing what actually happened, because that would be reckless journalism, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was interested in their accusation on abuse of power. And that's why I thought what they were talking about, the suspicious activity reports. And I think you have something on that.
Well, listen to this and let me know what you think.
Many transactions related to these businesses have raised red flags at U.S. banks. A suspicious activity report, or SAR, is a document a bank must file with the Treasury Department when a transaction is suspected to be related to money laundering or fraud or other types of criminal activity. According to media reports, the Biden family accumulated over 150 SARs. One SAR generated by an American bank to the Treasury Department connects Hunter Biden and his business associates to international human trafficking, among other illegal activities.
The thing that I found most interesting about this whole SARS situation, Mark, was that, okay, the Biden family accumulated 150 of them, and then they stopped. Well, why did they stop?
Yeah, that is the most fascinating part. Do you want to give the game away there, Lisa?
No, go ahead. Tell our listeners.
Right. So these are SARS, not the respiratory disorder famous in Japan, but the ones to do with financial transactions.
Suspicious activity reports.
A lot of people get these when they transfer large sums of money. It's having 1 or 2 or 5 or 6. It's not cause for concern. It's just to red flag something. Well,
how about 150?
Well, that's the difference, right? But then, of course, we say it's 150. We think, well, that's quite a lot. But then you think, what happened? Well, President Biden, according to Representative Comer, changed the rules on how these things are reported, meaning that the Biden family had no more SARS being recorded about their transactions. And I think Representative Comey also pointed out about Maxine Waters, a Democrat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maxine Waters, said, why has this been changed? And I guess somebody had to say, shh, that's our side. We've decided to change the reporting on suspicious activities reports. But, it's like, I found that really shocking, especially considering their alleging abuse of power. And if he did, in fact, change that after he was president for personal reasons, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's going to be quite amazing to see what comes down the line, Lisa. Now, final question for you, how long before the Democratic Party starts unraveling and pulling out its hair at this?
Well, this is, going to be interesting to watch. And I think it's safe to say there's a little schadenfreude going on there. And Republicans are glad to see the shoes on the other foot. But, this is what happens when you take the House of Representatives in the United States of America. And the GOP is putting Joe Biden and his family on notice.
Lisa K. Donna, thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Mark.
After this short break, we'll be back discussing silver linings for the GOP after a mixed result midterm. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.